Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus. By John Gray, Ph.D. Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus is a best-selling book written by relationship counselor and author John Gray, Ph.D. The book was first published in 1992 and has since sold over 50 million copies worldwide, making it one of the most influential relationship books of all time. The book is based on the premise that men and women are fundamentally different in their emotional needs, communication styles, and problem-solving approaches. According to Gray, these differences are rooted in biological and evolutionary factors and are not the result of social conditioning or personal choice. The book is divided into several chapters, each of which explores a different aspect of male-female relationships. Chapter 1. Men Are Like Martians. In this chapter, the author discusses the differences between men and women's needs, and how these needs are rooted in our evolutionary history. John Gray introduces the concept that men and women have fundamentally different needs in relationships. He uses the metaphor of men being from Mars and women from Venus to illustrate the vast differences in the way men and women communicate, think, and relate to each other. Gray argues that men and women have different emotional needs because they have evolved to perform different roles in society. For example, men were traditionally the hunters and providers in early societies, while women were the caregivers and nurturers. As a result, men tend to be more goal-oriented, focused on achieving specific outcomes and solving problems. Women, on the other hand, tend to be more relationship-oriented, focused on building connections with others and expressing their emotions. These differences in needs can cause frustration and misunderstandings in relationships, as men and women may not always understand or appreciate each other's priorities. For example, a man might feel unappreciated if his partner doesn't acknowledge his hard work and accomplishments, while a woman might feel unloved if her partner doesn't show her emotional support and affection. Understanding these differences and learning to appreciate and accommodate each other's needs is essential for a successful relationship. Gray suggests that couples can improve their relationships by learning to communicate effectively and by recognizing and accepting each other's differences. Chapter 2. Men Go to Their Caves. In this chapter, John Gray introduces the concept of men retreating to their caves to deal with stress. He explains that when men are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, they often need to withdraw from the world and spend time alone to recharge and re-energize. This behavior can be confusing and frustrating for women, who may interpret it as a sign that their partner is angry or upset with them. However, Gray argues that this is not the case. Instead, men are simply trying to deal with their stress in the most effective way possible, which often involves withdrawing and retreating into their own space. To support their male partners, Gray suggests that women need to respect this need for space and not take it personally. He explains that women can help by giving their partners the time and space they need to decompress and recharge, without pressuring them to talk or engage in activities they don't feel up to. At the same time, Gray also advises men to communicate their need for space and to be sensitive to their partner's feelings. He explains that while it's important for men to take care of themselves, they also need to be mindful of their partner's needs and feelings. Chapter 3. Men Are Like Rubber Bands. In this chapter, John Gray introduces the concept of men being like rubber bands when it comes to their emotional needs. He explains that men tend to need space to process their emotions, just like a rubber band needs to stretch before it can snap back into place. Gray argues that men will often withdraw emotionally from their partners, sometimes for days or even weeks, in order to process their feelings and regain their emotional balance. This can be confusing and frustrating for women, who may interpret this behavior as a sign that their partner is losing interest or doesn't care about the relationship. However, Gray suggests that this is not the case. Instead, men need this time and space to process their emotions and regain their emotional balance. Once they've had this time, they will snap back into the relationship with renewed energy and commitment. To support their male partners, Gray advises women to give them the space they need to process their emotions, without pressuring them to talk or share their feelings before they're ready. He also suggests that women should try to understand that this behavior is normal for men and not a sign that they're losing interest in the relationship. At the same time, Gray also advises men to communicate their needs to their partners and to be mindful of their partner's feelings. He explains that while it's important for men to take care of themselves emotionally, they also need to be sensitive to their partner's needs and feelings. Chapter 4. Men Are Right and Women Are Wrong. In this chapter, John Gray discusses the differences in communication styles between men and women. He argues that men tend to be more logical and women more emotional in their communication, which can often lead to misunderstandings. Gray explains that men are often focused on problem solving and finding practical solutions to problems. They tend to communicate in a straightforward, factual manner, and may become frustrated when women bring up emotions or feelings that don't seem relevant to the problem at hand. On the other hand, women tend to communicate in a more emotional, expressive manner. They may focus more on how a problem makes them feel and may want to talk about their emotions and experiences as part of the problem-solving process. These different communication styles can lead to misunderstandings and conflict, as men may feel that women are being overly emotional or illogical, while women may feel that men are ignoring or dismissing their feelings. To address these differences, Gray suggests that men and women need to be more aware of each other's communication styles and learn to adapt to them. He suggests that men should try to be more empathetic and supportive of women's emotional needs, while women should try to communicate their emotions in a way that men can understand. Gray also advises couples to be patient and understanding with each other, and to work together to find common ground and solutions that work for both partners. Chapter 5. Women Are Like Venusians. In this chapter, John Gray continues to explore the differences between men and women, this time focusing on women's needs. He argues that women are more like Venusians, in that they tend to be more emotionally expressive and focused on relationships. Gray explains that women's evolutionary history as caretakers and childbearers has shaped their needs and priorities. Women are often focused on nurturing and building strong relationships, both with their partners and with other women in their lives. At the same time, women can also be more sensitive and emotional than men, and may need more reassurance and support from their partners. They may also be more focused on communication and may want to talk through their problems and feelings with their partners. Gray argues that men need to be aware of these differences and to be supportive of women's needs. This may mean being more emotionally available and willing to listen, as well as being willing to provide reassurance and support when needed. At the same time, Gray also encourages women to recognize and appreciate their own strengths and needs. He suggests that women should be assertive and clear about what they need from their partners, while also being understanding and supportive of their partner's needs. Chapter 6. Women Need to Talk. In this chapter, John Gray delves into the idea that women need to talk in order to relieve stress. He argues that women are wired to seek out communication as a way of coping with their emotions and that men need to learn to listen without always trying to fix the problem. Gray explains that women often use communication as a way of processing their emotions and relieving stress. They may want to talk about their day, their feelings, and their problems, even if there is no immediate solution. By talking things out, women are able to release their emotions and feel a sense of relief. On the other hand, men tend to be more action-oriented and may feel the need to immediately fix a problem when they hear about it. This can lead to frustration and misunderstandings, as women may feel that their partner isn't listening or doesn't understand their needs. To address this, Gray suggests that men need to learn to listen without always trying to come up with a solution. He encourages men to provide a listening ear and to offer empathy and understanding, rather than immediately trying to solve the problem. At the same time, Gray also encourages women to be clear about what they need from their partners. He suggests that women should communicate their needs in a way that their partners can understand and should be willing to provide their partners with the space and time they need to process their own emotions. Chapter 7. Women Are Like Waves. In this chapter, John Gray explores the idea that women's emotions tend to ebb and flow, much like waves in the ocean. He argues that men need to learn how to ride these waves and support their partners without becoming overwhelmed by the intensity of their emotions. Gray explains that women's emotions can be more intense and changeable than men's, and that they may experience a wide range of emotions over a short period of time. This can be difficult for men to understand, and they may feel overwhelmed or confused by their partner's emotional state. To address this, Gray suggests that men need to learn how to be present and supportive without trying to fix the problem. He encourages men to provide a listening ear and to offer empathy and understanding, even if they don't fully understand their partner's emotions. At the same time, Gray also encourages women to be aware of their own emotional needs and to communicate them clearly to their partners. He suggests that women should be willing to take time for themselves and engage in self-care activities, while also being clear about what they need from their partners. Chapter 8. Women Are Always Right. In this chapter, John Gray delves into the idea that women tend to be more emotional and intuitive in their communication styles, and how this can lead to misunderstandings. He explains that women often rely on their feelings and intuition to guide their actions, while men tend to be more logical and analytical. Gray argues that this can lead to misunderstandings, as men may not always understand their partner's emotional reactions or may feel that their partner is being irrational. Women, on the other hand, may feel that their partner is not understanding their emotional needs or is not being supportive. To address this, Gray suggests that both men and women need to learn to appreciate and respect each other's communication styles. Men need to learn to listen to their partner's feelings and intuition, even if they don't always understand them, and women need to learn to communicate their emotional needs in a clear and concise way. Gray also emphasizes the importance of empathy and understanding in relationships. He suggests that couples should strive to put themselves in each other's shoes and to see things from the other person's perspective. This can help to build stronger, more empathetic relationships that are based on mutual trust and respect. Chapter 9. Discovering Are Different. In this chapter, John Gray discusses the different needs that men and women have in relationships and how understanding these differences can lead to a healthier and happier partnership. Gray explains that men tend to have a stronger need for independence and autonomy, while women often prioritize connection and emotional intimacy. This can create misunderstandings and conflict if one partner doesn't understand or respect the other's needs. For example, a man might want to spend time alone to recharge and pursue his hobbies, while a woman may want to spend more time together as a way of deepening their emotional connection. If the man doesn't communicate his need for alone time or the woman doesn't respect it, they could end up feeling resentful or disconnected from each other. Gray suggests that men and women can learn to understand and respect each other's needs by communicating openly and honestly, without judgment or blame. It's important for both partners to recognize that their needs are valid and to work together to find a balance that works for both of them. He also emphasizes the importance of empathy and trying to see things from the other person's perspective. When we understand why our partner needs something, even if it's different from our own needs, we can better support and appreciate them. Overall, by recognizing and respecting each other's needs, couples can build a stronger and more fulfilling relationship. Chapter 10. Overcoming the Fear of Intimacy. In this chapter, John Gray explores the topic of intimacy and how it can be a challenge for both men and women to open up and be vulnerable with each other. Gray explains that many men have a fear of intimacy because they associate it with losing their independence and control. They may have learned to value self-sufficiency and not rely on others, and the idea of being emotionally dependent on someone can be scary. Women, on the other hand, may fear intimacy because they worry about being hurt or rejected. To overcome these fears, Gray suggests that both men and women need to take steps to build trust and create a safe space for vulnerability. This can involve being honest and open with each other about your feelings, needs, and desires, as well as actively listening and validating your partner's perspective. Gray also emphasizes the importance of practicing self-care and self-love, as this can help build confidence and reduce the fear of being vulnerable. When we feel comfortable with ourselves, we are more likely to feel comfortable being vulnerable with others. It's also important to recognize that intimacy can take many forms, and it doesn't always have to be about sharing deep emotions or secrets. It can be as simple as holding hands, hugging, or sharing a laugh together. Ultimately, by working together to overcome the fear of intimacy, men and women can deepen their connection and strengthen their relationship. It takes time and effort, but the rewards of a truly intimate partnership are well worth it. Chapter 11. Speaking Different Languages. In this chapter, John Gray explores the topic of communication and how it can be a challenge for men and women to understand each other due to their different communication styles. Gray explains that men tend to communicate in a more direct and solution-oriented way, while women often communicate in a more indirect and emotion-focused way. This can lead to misunderstandings and frustration if one partner doesn't understand or appreciate the other's style. To communicate more effectively, Gray suggests that both men and women need to learn to speak each other's language. This involves recognizing and appreciating the differences in communication styles, and making an effort to adapt to your partner's style. For example, if a man wants to communicate a problem or issue to his partner, he might need to first acknowledge her emotions and provide reassurance before jumping into solutions. Conversely, if a woman wants to share her feelings with her partner, she might need to be more direct and clear about what she needs and wants from him. Gray also emphasizes the importance of active listening, which involves really hearing and understanding your partner's perspective. This means putting aside your own assumptions and judgments, and focusing on what your partner is trying to communicate. Finally, Gray suggests that couples should make time for regular communication and check-ins, even when things are going well. This can help prevent misunderstandings and ensure that both partners feel heard and appreciated. By learning to speak each other's language and actively listening, men and women can communicate more effectively and build a stronger and more fulfilling relationship. Chapter 12. Keeping the Magic of Love Alive. In this chapter, John Gray explores the topic of keeping the spark alive in relationships and how understanding and meeting each other's needs can help. Gray explains that relationships require effort and attention to keep the romance and connection alive. This means understanding and meeting each other's needs, even as those needs may change over time. For example, men may have a need for appreciation and respect, while women may have a need for emotional connection and intimacy. By recognizing and fulfilling these needs, both partners can feel valued and loved. Gray also emphasizes the importance of quality time together. This means making time for shared experiences and activities, as well as being present and fully engaged with each other when you're together. It's important to put aside distractions and focus on each other, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. In addition, Gray suggests that couples should make an effort to keep things fresh and exciting. This can involve trying new things together, surprising each other with thoughtful gestures, and making time for physical intimacy. Finally, Gray emphasizes the importance of communication and being open with each other about your needs and desires. When both partners feel heard and understood, they are more likely to feel connected and fulfilled in their relationship. By understanding and meeting each other's needs, making time for quality time together, and keeping things fresh and exciting, men and women can keep the spark alive in their relationships and build a strong and fulfilling partnership. Conclusion. Overall, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus offers a compelling and insightful perspective on male-female relationships. The book's popularity and enduring relevance are a testament to the fact that many people continue to struggle with the challenges of understanding and communicating with members of the opposite sex. By offering practical advice and a framework for understanding the differences between men and women, Gray's book has helped countless couples build stronger, more fulfilling relationships.